and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nyambura and this is 100 Books. Today I'm going to be talking about the books I finished in July of 2023. This is all, not July, June of 2023. This is in an effort to get to the month we are in, which is September, and then move week by week after that, because in April things just went haywire for me and I didn't keep updating, and so there's a lot of backlog to go, but here we are. So the first of the books I'm going to be talking about is Flights by Olga Tokarczuk, translated by Jennifer Croft, and I did this as a hybrid read. The audiobook is narrated by Julia Whelan. I don't even know how to describe this book. It's just, it feels like a mixture of vignettes, a constant through line, but it investigates like travel, it deals with travel. As the name suggests, there are quite a number of flights, the idea of flying, the idea of travel, the idea of finding oneself, losing people, finding people in the midst of travel. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I think this is, I was about to say this is the first Tokarczuk I've finished. I think it might be, because the one I have tried starting in the past is the one that's called, I think, Drive Your Plow Through the Bones of the Dead. I'm probably butchering it, I'll just put it here, but yes, I enjoyed this. The next book I finished was Poverty by America by Matthew Desmond. Matthew Desmond also wrote Evicted, which I think won a Pulitzer or a National Book Award, but anyway, it was featured and so on. This book explores why poverty is a feature, not a bug of American society, and explores possible solutions to it and so on. It reads as a polemic and goes by fast, so there's that. I think I listened to this, and if I'm not wrong, he's the one who narrates it. If he isn't the one who narrates it, I'm just going to put a note up here. Next was Schwartz by Claire Oshatsky, which is narrated by Julia Whelan. Whew, this book is so wild. It follows this woman who gets pregnant and then realizes pretty fast that she's going to have an owl baby. Her husband is like, nah, I don't think so. You're just going to have a regular baby, but she has an owl baby. And the other parent of this owl baby is a female owl who she's been having a dalliance with. I don't even think I'm doing it justice, but there's just like a queerness to this book that I really, really enjoyed. And I used to listen to it during my walks, and those were such pleasant walks. Next was It's Kind of a Funny Story by Ned Vizzini. I did this as a hybrid, and the book is narrated by Robert Fass. This book follows a teenager as he's admitted into a psychiatric ward. For a host of reasons, he has to be with adults. So he's navigating this world of the psychiatric ward, figuring things out about himself, about this space he's in, and so on. And it was a really touching story, actually. And then I talked about it with my friend Elsie, and she said, well, that book always hits a certain way, knowing that Ned Vizzini went on to unalive himself, as the kids say. But it's a very hopeful book, and I think it's an interesting book for young people to read, or people who are young at heart, who are thinking about mental health and mental illness and so on. Next was Heartstopper Volume 1 by Alice Osman. I picked this up because there's a Kindle challenge that involved reading a book in a series or a graphic novel or something like that, and so I chose Heartstopper because I'd been reading it on Webtoon pretty slowly, and then the opportunity arose to read this and complete a challenge. But because I'd been enjoying it, I figured why not. So in Heartstopper, we're following this boy who comes out as gay the year before the graphic novel begins, and then in the time when the novel begins, he is being bullied by someone. But then this other guy in his class defends him, and they form a friendship that leads to the guy who's out starting to play rugby because he's a really good athlete overall, and the other guy sort of forming a friendship with him, which eventually becomes a romantic um, relationship. I think folks know about Heartstopper, so I can keep it moving. Sorry, I have the sniffles. The next book I finished was Yellowface. There's a child outside, hence the rattle. The next book I finished was Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I did this as a hybrid, and the audiobook is narrated by Helen Laser. Yellowface! I think everybody and their cousin has read this book at this point, so I don't really need to go to go in depth about what the book is about or so on, but the basic premise is there's an Asian author, Athena Liu, who passes away at the very beginning of the novel, and then her white counterpart takes on a manuscript she was working on and passes it off as her own. Hijinks ensue. I don't know. I thought it was really trying to do a lot of work, and I don't know if it did the work it wanted to do, but I enjoyed the ride. And I also feel like it's a commentary on publishing, on the racial dynamics of the industry, and so on, which I think being on BookTube makes you encounter those conversations a lot. So maybe if you are not perennially online, chronically tuned in, etc., the book might have landed differently for you, but your mileage may vary either way. Then the next book I finished was Carework by Leah Lakshmi Pyapsna Samarasena, whose subtitle is Dreaming Disability Justice. And I did this as a hybrid. The book is narrated by the author. This book, again, is about what it says on the tin. It's about these ideas of disability justice, moving from the framework of disability rights towards justice, what it means to be in community with each other, what it means to question labor, community, friendship, queerness, performance, as in performance art, state demands on the lives and bodies of disabled people, and so on. I'd been sending it back to the library and waiting for it and sending it back and so on and so forth for a really long time, for going on 2 years at this point. So I'm really happy I finally picked it up and finished it. Next was We Should All Be Millionaires, A Woman's Guide to Earning More, Building Wealth, and Gaining Economic Power by Rachel Rogers. I picked this up because Stephanie over at Stephanie Perry, I'm going to put a link to her channel. Talks about this book and about the author every so often, so I figured why not. It had some interesting ideas that I wrote down notes and so on, but also there is something about a book that's like trying to straddle those two worlds, where it's like one needs money to be able to live in a capitalistic world, but also one needs money to be able to break free of the demands of a capitalistic world. And that's a tight rope to walk, and sometimes the book falls off the rope. Lastly was An Unquiet Mind, a memoir of moods and madness by Kay Redfield Jamison, which I did, I'm going to say, as a hybrid read, yes, and it was narrated by the author. This book follows Dr. Jamison as she discovers that she's living with bipolar mood disorder and trying to navigate her life and her, not just her way of living, but also her way of making a living as a person who's living with a mood disorder that means you have ups and downs and so on. Our friend recommended this to me because she said it's a really well written memoir and that it would be a good read for me, and I quite enjoyed it. Also, as an aside, Kay Redfield Jamison is related to Leslie Jamison on the empathy exams, and there's just something about how both of them write that sticks with you. So yeah, that's it. That's all the books I finished in June of 2023. I hope I'll be back here soon to talk about the books I finished in July of 2023 and August of 2023 as I try to catch up before I start doing weekly roundups again. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and all the good things, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.